Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're trying to cut through some of the noise around a concept that, well, it gets talked about a lot, but maybe isn't always fully understood. Neurodiversity. Now, I know for many of you listening, this isn't exactly a new term. Maybe you're a parent, navigating a diagnosis, or an educator looking for better strategies, or maybe you're just really interested in the whole spectrum of human experience.
Right.
So our goal today isn't just to define it. We want to really unpack what it means, the sort of deeper implications, maybe some surprising benefits, and those subtle shifts in how we see things that it asks of us. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and that's exactly the mission, I think. We want to move past just the dictionary definition and really explore what neurodiversity means for people, for families, for society.
Okay.
Think of this deep dive as maybe a shortcut, a way to get a solid handle on not just what it is, but why it's so fundamental for creating environments that are more inclusive, more effective, really. So by the end of this, you should have a clearer view, hopefully, some practical insights, and a perspective that really celebrates the amazing variety of human brains.
Great. So let's start there then. Just a quick re-anchor on the term itself. For anyone who's maybe heard it but isn't totally sure of the scope, or even for those who think they've got it down pat,
Okay.
what's the most, concise but still profound way to define neurodiversity now?
Okay, so at its heart, neurodiversity is simply the idea that, everyone's brain works differently. It's just a basic biological fact, kind of like biodiversity, in nature.
Like eye color or hair color, almost.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
There isn't one right way for a brain to process information or learn or interact with the world. Some things are more common, sure, others are less common, but they're all natural variations within the human species. This is a term Judy Singer coined back in the late 90s, and it was really about shifting away from thinking about these neurological differences as problems, as things that need to be fixed.
Right, the deficit model.
Yes, exactly. Towards recognizing them as just natural human variations, differences that deserve respect, and crucially, accommodation.
And I think that's the absolute key shift for so many people, especially parents, right?
Yeah.
Moving from that sort of medical viewpoint that something's wrong to more of a social model that asks, okay, how can society adapt? How can we better include and support these natural ways of being?
Yes.
But even if you get that intellectually, I imagine the emotional jump can still be, pretty big for a parent.
Oh, absolutely. That not broken, not needing fixing part. It's fundamental, but honestly, it's often the hardest bit to truly internalize. Because we've all been sort of steeped in this deficit-based thinking for so long. Think about a typical classroom, for example. Usually quiet, focused on one thing at a time, very visual or auditory-based.
Standard setup.
Right, but for a child whose brain maybe thrives on movement or processes things non-linearly or is super sensitive to sounds or lights, that standard environment can feel incredibly difficult.
Yeah, almost hostile.
It can be.
Yeah.
And it's not that the child can't learn, it's just that the environment isn't really set up to support how they learn. So neurodiversity challenges us to rethink the setup, the environment itself, not just focus on the individual child.
That distinction feels incredibly important. It sort of shifts the focus not away from the child's needs, but towards how we design our systems, schools, workplaces, everything to be more inclusive from the start.
Exactly.
So when we talk about these different brain wirings, these neurotypes, what are some of the conditions or labels that usually fall under this neurodiversity umbrella?
Well, there's a pretty wide range, actually. The ones most commonly discussed include autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, which affects maths, dyspraxia, sometimes called DCD or developmental coordination disorder,
Okay.
Tourette syndrome, and then various other specific learning disabilities. And we should also probably include acquired neurodivergence.
Acquired? How does that work?
That's when someone's brain function changes later in life, maybe due to a brain injury or an illness or even significant trauma. Their brain works differently than it did before, so they become neurodivergent.
Got it. That's quite a list.
It is. And it's really important to remember, too, that people often experience more than one of these. You might hear the term comorbidity or co-occurrence.
Right. So someone might have ADHD and dyslexia, for example.
Precisely. Or autism with maybe a co-occurring learning difference. It's not always neat little boxes. It's much more of a spectrum, really, with lots of unique intersections.
That really does drive home the idea of just how individual everyone's experience is, even within the neurodivergent community itself. We really have to avoid those one-size-fits-all assumptions, don't we?
Absolutely. Sometimes people use the image of a big rainbow or maybe a mosaic. Each piece is unique, different shape, different color, but together they create the whole picture. Every brain kind of has its own operating system.
I like that. Operating system.
Yeah, with its own strengths and its own challenges too, of course. And this neurodiversity way of thinking just asks us to appreciate that functional diversity, to recognize that a really healthy, strong society actually benefits from having all these different cognitive styles, not just the most common one.
Okay, so let's dig into that a bit. For you listening, maybe you're a parent, an educator, a manager at work. Why does really getting this, truly embracing neurodiversity matter? Beyond just, being a decent, empathetic person, what are the deeper implications here?
Right. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think, and practical too. Understanding neurodiversity isn't just about being nice, although that's important. It's genuinely about unlocking potential. It's about fostering innovation.
How so?
Well, when you shift your viewpoint, when you start to recognize these diverse ways of thinking as just that diverse think, you stop seeing only the challenges. And you start noticing these huge, often completely overlooked strengths.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, take a child with ADHD. Yes, the traditional classroom setting, sitting still, focusing on one task for ages, that might be tough. Organization might be a struggle.
Common challenges, yeah.
But that same brain wiring often comes with incredible hyperfocus when they're interested in something. Amazing energy. Creativity that goes way outside the box. And sometimes this remarkable ability to make connections between ideas that seem totally unrelated to others.
Okay.
These aren't just quirks of personality. They can be real cognitive advantages if you put them in the right context.
That's a really powerful point. We hear so much about the school struggles, but you imagine that outside the box thinking, that ability to connect disparate ideas, wow, that could be a superpower in, say, a brainstorming session,
right,
or trying to solve a really tricky, complex problem.
Exactly. It's about finding the context where the difference becomes an asset.
Right. It's leveraging the difference, not just managing it.
Yes. Or think about someone with dyslexia. Processing written text might be different for them, maybe slower, more effortful. Traditional reading and writing can be hard work. But many, many individuals with dyslexia show incredible strengths in other areas. Things like spatial reasoning thinking in 3D, pattern recognition, amazing narrative skills, storytelling.
So they might excel in fields that rely on those skills.
Absolutely. They might be brilliant architects, visual artists, engineers, designers, entrepreneurs, oral storytellers. Often they thrive when they have alternative ways to take in information and show what they know. The problem isn't usually their inherent ability. It's often the rigidity of our systems, how we measure success. So what's fascinating here is that looking through this neurodiversity lens isn't just about, providing support for the challenges. It's also about actively looking for, nurturing, and celebrating those strengths. Because those diverse skills and perspectives, they're absolutely critical for collective progress and creativity. If we only value and measure success by one narrow neurotypical yardstick, we miss out on so much human potential, so much brilliance.
That really lands. It feels like moving from seeing deficits to seeing strengths isn't just like a nice idea. It's almost a strategic necessity if we want a truly thriving, innovative society.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, let's make this really actionable then, especially for parents listening. Based on everything we've discussed, what are maybe 3 practical things they could start doing, maybe even today?
Right, practical steps are key, aren't they? Especially when it feels like new ground. Okay, first tip, try to approach any diagnosis or even just noticing differences in your child with curiosity first, not fear.
Curiosity, not fear, okay.
Yeah, when you first hear a label or just see your child struggling or doing things differently, the instinct can be to panic. Understandable, but try to resist that. Instead, see it as an invitation to become the world's leading expert on your specific child.
How do you do that?
Well, it means diving into good, credible information, reading books, articles, listening to podcasts like this one, but also, crucially, listening to the lived experiences of neurodivergent adults and other families. Ask questions. Be open. The more you understand, the less frightening the unknown feels.
I can absolutely vouch for that. Honestly, when my son got his autism diagnosis, my first reaction was just fear, pure fear, about his future, about what it all meant. But shifting that energy, consciously deciding to be fiercely curious instead of fearful, learning everything I could, reading stories, connecting with other parents, it totally transformed how I saw everything. It became less about the scary label and much more about understanding his amazing, unique brain.
That's such a powerful shift.
Yeah.
And it's one I hear about again and again. It's huge. Okay, so second tip, actively look for and really lean into your child's strengths and passions.
Lean into them.
Yeah, go beyond just sort of acknowledging them vaguely. Think about how you can structure their world, their activities, their interactions to really play to those strengths. Ask yourself, what truly fascinates them? What makes their eyes light up? Where do they just naturally shine? And then use that as your starting point for connection, for learning, even for tackling challenges. Build on the positive.
And that really works. I mean, for my son, drawing is everything. He loves it. So when he's finding it hard to explain something with words or maybe express a big feeling, we've learned now to just hand him a pencil and paper.
Oh, brilliant.
And his drawings become this incredible bridge. It's how he communicates things that might otherwise just stay stuck inside. It's a simple adjustment, but it came directly from seeing and valuing his strength.
That's a perfect example. It's about finding their language.
Yeah.
Okay, and the third tip, and this one's just so important, find your village.
Your village, yes.
Find your people. Raising a neurodivergent child can sometimes feel, well, isolating, because your path might look quite different from the families around you or from what you expected. So actively seek out connections, other parents who get it. Online communities can be amazing. Support groups. Find educators and therapists who genuinely understand and embrace neurodiversity. These connections offer shared experience, practical tips you might not find elsewhere, and just vital emotional support.
No, life-saving is honestly the only way to describe it sometimes. Just knowing there are other people out there who truly understand the specific highs, the unique lows, the confusing bits, and who can offer advice that comes from actually living it. That community is absolutely essential. It's your bedrock.
It really is. Don't try to go it alone.
So on that note of support, a question that I know weighs heavily on a lot of parents, especially early on, is figuring out when it's time to seek professional help. This raises an important question. When do you go beyond your village and bring in the experts?
That's a really critical question, and actually, the guidance is probably a bit clearer than people might think. The general advice is, if your child's differences are consistently making daily life feel really hard.
Define really hard.
Good point. I mean, things like constant significant struggles at school, maybe academic, maybe social, maybe behavioral, or perhaps frequent, intense emotional meltdowns that really disrupt family life day after day, or challenges that are severely limiting their ability to participate in activities or connect with peers. If things feel persistently difficult and distressing, for them or for the family, that's usually a strong sign it's time to reach out.
Okay.
It's not about labeling every little quirk or difference, not at all. It's more about recognizing when the mismatch between the child and their environment or their own internal challenges is causing significant ongoing distress or barriers. And professionals like developmental pediatricians, educational psychologists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, they have the tools to do assessments, potentially provide diagnoses if appropriate, and offer really specific targeted strategies. They can help pinpoint where the difficulties lie and suggest ways to build skills or adapt the environment to make things easier.
And it feels really important to frame that step, not as, getting your child labeled forever, which I think is a common fear.
It is.
But more like getting a roadmap or maybe getting a better toolkit. It's about gaining insights and strategies specifically tailored to your child that can genuinely improve life for everyone involved. It's empowering, really.
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. Think of professional support as being there to help build bridges for your child. Strong, accessible bridges to help them navigate the world more easily, more confidently. It's not about building walls that limit them. It's about creating pathways to help them flourish.
Bridges, not walls.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a really helpful metaphor. Okay, to kind of bring all these ideas together, could you share maybe a real-life story? An example where understanding neurodiversity and applying these principles really made a tangible difference. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I often think about a young girl I worked with some time ago. She had dyspraxia. That's the developmental coordination disorder we mentioned.
Okay.
And she was incredibly bright. Verbally gifted, actually. Had this amazing imagination, told fantastic stories out loud. But the physical act of writing is just agonizingly difficult for her.
The motor skills challenge.
Exactly. Her handwriting was really slow, took immense effort, and was often hard to read. And this caused so much frustration for her. It massively impacted her schoolwork, obviously, but also her confidence, her self-esteem. She just started to dread any school task that involved writing. Which, let's face it, is almost everything.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking when you know the ideas are in there, but getting them out on paper is such a barrier. It really was. But thankfully, her teacher had some understanding of neurodiversity. She saw the mismatch. She saw the brilliant verbal skills shining through. And instead of just pushing harder on the handwriting, forcing her into that one neurotypical mold,
Right.
they made a simple but honestly profound adjustment. They let her use an iPad to record her stories and her ideas sometimes, instead of always having to write them down by hand.
Ah, technology as a bridge.
Exactly. And the change was almost immediate. It was transformative.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, all those amazing, vivid stories and complex ideas she had could just flow out, unimpeded by the physical struggle of writing.
Wow.
Her confidence just blossomed. Her grades improved, sure, but much more importantly, her actual love for learning, which had been really getting crushed by the frustration, it just came back. She started enjoying school again.
That's such a fantastic example, a relatively small adjustment based on understanding her specific needs and strengths just completely unlocked her potential. It wasn't about lowering the bar.
Not at all.
It was about changing the way she could show what she knew, changing the pathway.
Precisely. And if we kind of zoom out from that one story, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it shows us, doesn't it? When we truly embrace neurodiversity, we stop trying to squeeze every single person into the exact same rigid box, whether it's in school or at work or just in society.
Yeah.
Instead, we start to make the box bigger. We create more options, more pathways, more flexible and inclusive environments. And ultimately, that gives everyone more opportunity to thrive, to contribute their unique talents. This bigger box idea, it doesn't just benefit neurodivergent people. It makes the whole system richer, more adaptable, more innovative. It benefits everyone.
That has been such a rich discussion. Wow. A really insightful deep dive today. We've gone from the basic definitions right through to the profound implications, the benefits for all of society, and some really concrete, practical steps.
It really has been good to talk through. And I guess for everyone listening, if there's one core message to take away, it's this. Neurodiversity isn't about fixing your child. It's not about trying to rewire them into someone they're not. It's truly about understanding their unique brain, supporting their individual needs with strategies that actually work for them. And, maybe most importantly, celebrating the incredible strengths, the different perspectives, the unique gifts they bring to your family and to the world.
So take it one day at a time. Stay curious, always. Actively look for and really nurture those unique strengths that make your child who they are. And please, don't hesitate to lean on your village. Find those people. Those connections are absolutely your bedrock.
Couldn't agree more. And just one last thought, through all the learning, all the adapting, sometimes the advocating, please remember to give yourself a huge amount of grace. You're navigating something significant. You're doing better than you think you are. And your commitment to understanding, that alone is making a massive difference.
That's a wonderful note to end on. And building on that idea you shared about making the box bigger, creating more space, I want to leave you, the listener, with something to maybe chew on. Thinking beyond neurodiversity for a moment, in what other areas of your life or our society might we be, perhaps unknowingly, trying to force people or ideas or even whole systems into a box that just doesn't quite fit? And how could these principles we've talked about today, celebrating difference, adapting environments, valuing diverse perspectives, how could they inspire us to actively seek out and maybe expand all those limiting boxes to unlock greater inclusion, more innovation, and tap into all that untapped potential out there for everyone? Something to think about until next time on The Deep Dive.